Welcome to Super Showdowns, the ultimate destination for epic battles and legendary showdowns. Join us as we put iconic superheroes, villains, and mythological figures against each other in thrilling matches of strength, strategy, and skill. In the shadow of a dying star, on the edge of a collapsing multiverse, Dr. Manhattan stood alone atop the ruins of a forgotten planet. His blue glow pulsed faintly, like the last heartbeat of time itself. Around him, existence flickered. Stars blinked out of reality, not because they burned out, but because they were erased. Entire timelines collapsed into dust, and the cosmic wind carried whispers of obliteration. He had seen this moment before, 1 billion possibilities, 1 trillion diverging timelines. Yet in each one, it always led here, this confrontation, this inevitability. Some called it entropy, others judgment. But to him, it had one name, the Anti-Monitor. Across the shattered wall of reality, through a rift that howled like the scream of dead universes, the Anti-Monitor emerged. Towering, armored, in shifting plates of antimatter steel, his eyes were burning pits of negative energy. Behind him, a wave of nothingness stretched across the stars, devouring galaxies, erasing gods, absorbing entire dimensions to fuel his hunger. He spoke. Not with a voice, but with the gravity of cosmic decree. I am the end. You are an anomaly, a flaw in existence. You should not be. Dr. Manhattan tilted his head, blue energy crackling lazily from his fingers. In his presence, time didn't move. It folded inward, spiraling. He saw the Anti-Monitor before he existed and after he was defeated, all at once. Perhaps, but flaws often reveal design. The Anti-Monitor raised a hand. Instantly, antimatter storms erupted, turning constellations into void. Manhattan raised a single finger, and the storms halted, suspended in frozen light, particles confused by the conflict of physics and thought. Their powers were not opposites, they were alien philosophies made flesh. One was a surgeon, precise and infinite, who questioned the purpose of intervention. The other was a conqueror of absolutes, born from the antimatter universe of Quad, where destruction was divine order. Far away, in the realm of the new gods, Metron watched from his Mobius chair, eyes wide with horror. The collision of infinite will and infinite erasure. If they fight, reality itself will come undone. In the realm of the endless, destiny paused at his book. The pages turned themselves, screaming in languages not meant to be read, for even fate was uncertain. Back on the battlefield, a dead planet splintered as the Anti-Monitor took a step forward. Every atom screamed in defiance. He stretched a hand across dimensions, pulling from the great darkness, from crises past and future, shaping them into a sphere of erasure. You cannot rewrite what no longer exists. Dr. Manhattan walked forward, his feet not touching ground, eyes glowing brighter than suns. Around him, fragments of history circled, echoes of Superman, Batman, and every world he had touched. You misunderstand me. I do not rewrite, I observe. But now...
Hey you! Don't just watch. Subscribe, please.
I choose to interfere. In that instant, Manhattan reached into the past and future simultaneously, grasping threads of what could have been. He pulled from the moment of creation itself, the hand that shaped the multiverse, and for a brief moment, he became its reflection. In a distant timeline, the spectre shuddered. In another, Perpetuous screamed. Even Lucifer Morningstar narrowed his eyes, sensing that something terrible was waking. Back in the void, the Anti-Monitor roared. His energy slammed into Manhattan, who absorbed it like a tide, pulled into a singularity. The clash rippled through monitor realms, through hypertime, through the bleed, and yet Both remained. "You are not what I expected," Anti-Monitor muttered, almost amused. "Neither are you," Manhattan replied. "But I've learned that expectation is the enemy of understanding." And then he touched the Anti-Monitor's armor. Reality groaned. The Anti-Monitor staggered back, not in pain, but in confusion. He felt something changing. A sliver of possibility wormed into his being, threatening to infect his purity of purpose. "What have you done?" "I introduced choice," Manhattan answered. "Even your path is not inevitable." Enraged, the Anti-Monitor expanded, becoming a multiversal black hole, devouring not just matter, but meaning. Memories of civilizations, the smell of newborn stars, the final words of dying gods, all were pulled into him. Dr. Manhattan began to fade from this timeline, moving to another strand of probability. But the Anti-Monitor followed. Through the 44th parallel of the overvoid, through the dreams of dead universes, through every forbidden corner of the source wall, they clashed. In Earth 33, comic book writers gasped, pencils snapping as unknowable visions bled into their art. On Earth, Omega, imprisoned gods wept. And somewhere, hidden deep in the broken gears of the orrery of worlds, a new anomaly awakened. Dr. Manhattan looked down at his hand, saw it flicker. Not because he was weakening, but because the anti-life was creeping in. "You are becoming me," the Anti-Monitor hissed. "No," Manhattan said, watching himself split across infinite selves. "But I'm beginning to understand you." As the chapter closes, both entities stand in a realm unmapped, suspended in the silence between realities. The next strike will not merely determine survival, it will decide the philosophy of existence itself. In the space beyond all maps, beyond hypertime, the source wall, even beyond the thoughts of the presence, it began. The realm was a blank of uncreation, a void untouched by any narrative, where ideas came to die. Here, no gods ruled, no physics obeyed, and no fate dared step. Here they battled, Dr. Manhattan, the quantum enigma, existing in past, present, and future simultaneously. The Anti-Monitor, the devourer of dimensions, pure entropy clad in antimatter. Armor, the embodiment of eternal negation. They struck each other with tools not made of force, but of principle. Manhattan raised both hands, and around them burst the unwritten timelines. Millions of unrealized futures surged into being. He conjured Earths that never were. Earths where Krypton never exploded. Earths where Batman wore the ring of will. Earths where peace reigned forever. These worlds, fueled by hope and unrealized truth, crashed down like meteors upon the Anti-Monitor. But the giant laughed, a terrible sound like cracking tombs across galaxies. His antimatter touch turned those Earths to grey ash, reducing possibility into nothingness. "Hope is a parasite," Anti-Monitor snarled, eyes glowing, "and you feed it too long." Manhattan blinked away, reappearing a second before that. Moment even happened. He fractured into infinite selves, each attacking from a different slice of time. They stabbed at the Anti-Monitor's past, bombarded his future, rewrote his origin into a cradle of stardust instead of darkness. The Anti-Monitor recoiled but then adapted. He collapsed his existence into a singular now, dragging all time into one solid point. Suddenly, Manhattan's manipulation of time had no reference. His futures faded, his past vanished. He stood exposed for the first time, finite. "You are not a god," the Anti-Monitor declared. "You are a witness, and witnesses can be erased." With a thought, the Anti-Monitor summoned the Echo Crisis, channeling every destroyed Earth into a collapsing sphere of anti-life. This was more than power. It was narrative gravity. It pulled meaning, agency, and identity into it. Even the Mobius chair failed to observe. Dr. Manhattan raised a hand, but for the first time hesitated. He saw what would come. If he struck back with full force, it would destroy the boundary between timelines, merging all Earths into one paradox, birthing a multiversal collapse even he couldn't control. "I can destroy him," he whispered, "but I will destroy everything else." "And I," said the Anti-Monitor, "have already made that choice." They collided one final time, not as fists, not as light, but as laws of existence. Manhattan summoned the hand of creation itself, the spark that once began the multiverse. The Anti-Monitor countered with the heart of antimatter, forged in Quard's deepest pit. Creation met uncreation, worlds split open, the Speed Force imploded. The Green Lantern's central battery dimmed. On Earth's Zarashru, Superman fell to his knees. On Earth 22, Wonder Woman clutched her lasso as it turned to dust. In the sixth dimension, the World Forger dropped his hammer and whispered, "No!" When the light cleared, there was silence. The battlefield was gone. So, were most timelines, 1,000 universes flickered, then vanished. Floating alone in the void was Dr. Manhattan, broken, flickering like a faulty equation. His limbs disconnected from meaning, his thoughts scattered across versions of himself. He had tried to be more than an observer. He had tried to act, and he had failed. The Anti-Monitor stood tall, though his armor was cracked and his form leaking. Anti-energy. His victory was not easy, but it was complete. He extended his hand, placing it on Manhattan's chest. "Sleep now, broken god. You were never meant to interfere." With a final pulse of void light, the Anti-Monitor collapsed Dr. Manhattan into a particle of erased possibility, a ripple in the endless dark. Back in the Monitor realm, only a single observer remained. The other Monitors had fallen. The source. Wall was bleeding. The orrery of worlds spun wildly out of balance, and in the distance, the Anti-Monitor began to march again, consuming what's left of the multiverse. But in the tiniest flicker, within the static hum of erased timelines, something of Manhattan remained. Not a body, not a soul, but a question. What is choice, if even nothing can evolve?